Hi everyone, my name is Gina Isabella Simoni, technically. If you look me up, there's a lot of Gina Simonis out there, so if you are going to Google me, remember the Isabella in the middle. My website is ginaIsabellasimoni.com. So I'm a holistic therapist, and today I want to make a video on being triggered and what that means exactly. I'm doing a little series of videos because I'm developing a program to help people deal with their triggers, identify them, overcome them, deal with the healing and the trauma that underlies the triggers. So first of all, I want to keep this short and sweet. If you hear people referring to being triggered, it's a phrase that's thrown around quite a lot these days. And it's really, really, really important that we understand what this is all about. So basically, in a nutshell, what being triggered is when somebody takes action from a place of pain. Okay. When you are being triggered, something outside of you has happened to cause a thought which causes a response in your body, which makes you feel a certain way, which generally triggers a fear response. And that fear is there because of underlying issues. And so being triggered ultimately means that you are likely to respond from a place of fear. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you will respond, depending on how conscious you are and how aware you are of your triggers and your underlying fears and pain around your triggers, and whether or not you're working on them consciously. You could be somebody who gets triggered all throughout the day but doesn't actually take any action based on those triggers. You could be somebody who's conscious of them and has tools in place to actually step back and respond. So for example, being triggered, a very stereotypical example of being triggered is just somebody who gets annoyed by another person and reacts, and there's a temper flare up. Then there are a lot more subtle triggers which are actually harder to recognize, but they come out in more passive aggressive form. So somebody might be triggered, let's say something happens or someone says or does something to them which makes them feel insecure. It triggers a point of insecurity, and then they might withdraw and go very quiet and then do a different something else with that, so that's more quietly self-destructive behind the scenes. For example, it might set off an eating disorder, or it might mean that if you're a smoker, for example, if you feel triggered by stressful situations or anything like that, you might go off and smoke. So what an actual trigger is, though, the feeling triggered, is different for everyone. And the whole reason that someone will feel triggered is because of underlying, usually trauma, but there's definitely some sort of negative association with whatever it is that's made them feel triggered. It doesn't necessarily mean that something bad has even happened. It's a series of thoughts and a way of interpreting events. And we usually interpret events or something somebody says or does or something that's happened, or it might be an actual traumatic event. You know, there are certain things that happen that are actually traumatic, that can be huge triggers. So but most often something will happen outside of us, and it'll be a reminder of something that's deep in our subconscious, of a pain that we've experienced in the past. So if we've been through something in the past that has caused us to feel insecure or vulnerable around a certain issue, then we might come across something similar, or similar personality type that was similar to a person that maybe did us harm in the past, or similar situation that has caused us to have these subconscious beliefs and a way of reacting to something that causes us to react out of fear. So I'm going to make another, I just want to keep these videos short. I'm going to make another video about what different triggers look like. And I think the most important thing to realize is that being triggered isn't a good or a bad thing. It just is. And it's 100% normal, and it happens to everyone. Okay. It's got a very negative association to it at the moment. And also, you know, if you are just under a lot of stress, you could be triggered by something that isn't necessarily difficult or traumatic. It could just be, you know, the straw that broke the camel's back. It's just one too many challenging things. So an event in and of itself isn't actually bad, or you might usually deal with it quite calmly. But if you're already under a lot of pressure and a lot of stress and not actually suppressing and not dealing with all of that, or you not got enough support, then it's like you're at a tipping point then, and then actually a lot of things could trigger you. Okay, so that's the first video in the series on being triggered. Thank you for watching. If you want to get in touch and work on any of your issues, if you're conscious enough and you know what being triggered is all about, and you'd like to work with me, please get in touch. I have a lot of really good tools, and I will be making a video on that as well. Thank you. Bye.